Okay. Hey guys, want to thank you and thank you for coming in to another episode of Authentic Leadership. I'm just batting 1,000 tonight. Yes, it is our annual. It is our weekly session on Monday night. I was trying to put in my intro, but for some reason, our stream y'all just do not want to behave with me today. But we're still having a fantastic show, Authentic Leadership 101. For all of those who are joining us, those previously joined us, and those who join us for the first time. We want us to let us know where you're tuning in from. Drop it down in the comment section. Also, drop down in the comment section any comments or questions or concerns you have going throughout the show. We want to discuss what you're talking about. We want you to get involved because this is an interactive show, and we're in leadership, authentic leadership school. That's why we call it 101, because we're beginning the authentic leadership, and we're just going to delve into what it's about, how you can be that. And tonight we are covering a fantastic topic. Tonight we're talking about authenticity and why it isn't faking it till you make it, right? So I can't do this by myself. I got my lovely assistant on. They're forever smiling. Tracy Borreson. What's up, Tracy? How are you, dear?
Hey guys, I'm good.
I'm fumbling and bubbling today for some reason. I'm not. It
is
a typical Monday, right?
This is what life is like.
Yes. I can't change it. I'm sorry, I can't change it. This is what it is. But we're talking about a great topic tonight. We always talking about being an authentic leader, and we discuss that all the time. But tonight we're talking about why authenticity isn't about faking it till you make it. Because I know everyone that's joining in, everyone that's going to see this on the replay, somewhere along the line of your professional career, even if maybe somebody even told you that in just your life, they told you, fake it till you make it. It's okay to fake it till you make it. And I am one that I do think that may apply in certain situations, but not at all when you're talking about being authentic. So when you're talking about being authentic, I don't think faking it till you make it is really what you want to practice. But we're going to delve into it because I want to hear what Tracy has to say about this faking it till you make it. Because this is the authentic lady right here. So I want to hear what she has to say.
Authenticity is kind of my jam.
This is your jam without the peanut butter and jelly. This is your jam right
now. True. Okay, so there's the history. Let's talk about the history of faking it till you make it, right? Why did this even become a thing, the concept of faking it until you make it? And part of it is because when you look at personal growth, you have to try things you haven't done. And one of the mindsets that can be helpful in that scenario is extrapolating your current self to your future self and saying like, oh, that, I like to call her Future Tracy. Future Tracy is awesome at that, right? Future Tracy is awesome at networking, or she's awesome at sales, or she's awesome at marketing, or she's awesome at leadership. She's awesome at whatever. Fill in the gap of what your future self is. And if you can take your current self right now and put yourself into the shoes of that person, there's a benefit of that because you get to show up as that person already. And so to me, that's the root of this phrase, which is not a terrible place to come from, right? Like, I want to be that, so I'm going to pretend to be that now. The problem with this is that as long as you have the story in your head that you're pretending or you're faking, or it's not you or something like that, there's going to be a break where the current version of you doesn't match that. And this is where, there's a huge market right now for dealing with imposter syndrome, because this is exactly what we tell people to fake it until they make it, and then they are pretending to be somebody then they're not. And now we have an entire industry of people helping you deal with imposter syndrome, right? Like, so let's just go back, rewind to the beginning where you get the chance to fake it until you make it. Let's just not and not say we did, because we don't want to be faking it. Faking and authenticity are like polar opposites of how you want to show up. And so when you take it back to the original concept of like, okay, well, how could I extrapolate my current self into a version of myself in the future that I would like to be?
Right.
You can be that today. There are pieces of that you can be today. So one of the examples I think that usually comes up in this scenario is like, I want to be a millionaire, right? Like, okay, well, today I can't manifest $1 million for you. That's not going to happen today. But if you look at what would millionaire version of me do today, then you can do that. You can do that today. You can be that today. You're not pretending to be that today. You are being that today. Now, what you're being is a piece of that, right? You're being the piece of that person. You may not have reaped the rewards yet of being that person. You get to take those actions. But the actions, I'm just going to confuse everybody, so ask all the questions. The actions, we say this every episode. I'm probably going to say it every single episode, right?
Yes.
The actions are not necessarily tied to who you are, right? So, okay, let's say I heard this example about Stephen King. It's from the book, The One Thing. And they were saying, like, what Stephen King, before he was a famous author, what he did was he spent 4 hours a day writing because he believed that famous author version of Stephen King would spend 4 hours a day writing, or in the process of writing, brainstorming, researching the writing process. And so he started to do that. He started to be it today. And so maybe he became that because he was lucky. Or maybe he became that because he decided today that was the version of him he was going to be. But he wasn't pretending to be. He wasn't walking around telling people that he was a best-selling author. He wasn't faking it. He was just taking the actions that future version of himself would take. So I just want to give you guys kind of, hopefully I've created a good split there between like, this is what you can do, and that's not faking it. Faking it is when you're not doing this and you're not taking the actions that are in alignment with that future version of you. You're taking actions because you think you have to. So like, in order for me to be a best-selling author, I have to write for 4 hours a day. If I decided that would be because Stephen King said that's the way to become a best-selling author, not because that's what Tracy Borreson said. And so I'm not here to just like pretend to be me. I'm not here to pretend to be good at negotiating if I'm not good at negotiating. I'm here to take action today so that the future version of me who is good at negotiating can get good at negotiating. I'm going to take a break and let Shawn
Yeah, you have been,
right on that.
And I also thank those that came by. Thank you, Andrea, Margot. Appreciate you, Russ, as well. Gabe checking in on us. Jesse, thank you for joining us. Intentional actions are powerful. I want to put this up what Jesse says because I definitely agree with that. And let me see if I can look at it and find it. Andrea had put up something that I am very familiar with. Not only have I heard this in the Black church, Andrea, I have heard this in corporate as well. And I've heard this from higher ups that when they said it to me, just befuddled me. Since I have Russ in here, I'll talk about befuddled. It just befuddled me that they would give me that as an advice to take that. And when I think about why faking it until you make it is so totally polarizingly opposite and authentic, because Tracy, you touched on a lot of different actually answers to that. The essence of just being successful in general is not faking it, but it's the opposite, which is being authentic. And how can you be successful and being authentic without trying it? So if I'm faking it, how can that align with me trying it, as in the matter of growth, in the matter of if I'm lacking confidence in something, how can I identify those strengths? If I'm not if I'm faking it, it's always Captain Obvious. So I say that I can't figure those things out because I'm faking it anyway. So the things that I want to get better in, the things I need to grow in, the strides and the successes that I need to make, I can't make because I'm faking it. So when does it come a point apart? When it becomes the transition? Because a lot of times people get to understand that faking it until I make it point, but there's not clarity in when that transitions to, okay, I'm not faking it anymore. I made it. Where's the work that comes in to get you to that transition? Because if you've been faking it the whole entire time, there hasn't been any work that's leading to you actually making it, right? So that's why I've always had a problem with this, and I think so it's from a lack of. I think the severity of what people say this, and in leadership, where people say this is in the essence of, okay, it's pretty much a light thing to say. Maybe you're not feeling well, fake it till you make it. I can see in some generalizations that is adequate for you to tell me. Maybe I feel like smiling. I'm not having the greatest day. Okay, and we got corporation coming in, or we got big wigs coming in. You can't sit around looking ho hum. It's like fake it till you make it. Like, get happy, engage until maybe that rubs off from somewhere or another. I can see you placing that in that, but if you're putting it on as a lifestyle of you as an individual, you as an authentic leader, how you can continue to fake it when you having others counting and depending on you, and you're looking to be the leader of those that you're growing and developing. So if I'm telling you to consistently fake it till you make it, my question has always been, when does that transition take place? Because I have not done any work to make it. So I'm going to fake the make as well.
Well, and here's the interesting thing, right? Because so if we are going to fake it, right? But what are we making? Make it. What is it? Right? Like, so faking it is not being ourselves. So that's fine. I'm feeling sad today. My manager has clients coming in and wants me to fake it. So I looked happy. For one, who does it benefit? Let's ask that question. Okay. If we're asking someone else or ourselves to fake it, to whose benefit and why? Why is that a benefit? Because now we're faking a whole bunch more than just like me pretending to be happy, right? Like we're faking a non-toxic work culture. We're faking a trustworthy place for this client to invest their money. We're faking a lot of things now at this point. Yeah. So like that's not great. But when you think about, so if I'm going to show up as my not authentic self, which I'm not very good at, I'll use my classic example of I'm going to show up as Donald Trump today, because that's as far from my personal brand as someone can get. Like, what am I making? To what benefit, right? So like, if I'm going to succeed, if we're going to define make it as succeed, I'm going to succeed at something. What am I going to succeed at that matters to me if I'm pretending to be Donald Trump? Who cares about none of the things that matter to me?
Yeah, really.
And so like, where is this connection getting broken? Now what we're saying is that society or my manager or my parents or whatever have created this predefined future for me. And I have to fake it to get there. And like, of course you do. You're going to have to fake it to get to a destination you don't want to go. Because if you were authentic, you would get to a destination you did want to go, not to a destination you don't want to go.
And you wouldn't have to fake it at that point.
Woo, and this is crazy, you guys. Because then what we're saying, you break it down to that level, what we're saying is that, okay, I'm going to pretend to be someone I'm not to reach a destination I don't want to go.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that makes no sense at all. And when you put it in perspective, it really kind of gains traction, or it should gain traction in your mind. And when it's said to you, or I mean, because even though it's not that it sounded cliche, it is cliches when you think about it, because it's just some phrases that people put together to kind of like, I call it fillers, sort of like saying and, buts, ifs, and does when you're having a conversation, right? You're filling those in, and that's exactly what you're doing when you're trying to be authentic in who you are, and when you're trying to be real. How sustainable can faking be? Because being the real you, it's self-evident on one level, but it's still a truth that needs to be said. So you have to be genuine. You can't, in the essence of comparison yourself. You got to end. I always take it as a point of identifying the strengths, right? Because when you're being authentic, you're really working into who you are. So when you're working in who you are, it's easy to identify things that you're weak in. It's easy to evaluate and see that you're. So these are the things, the characteristics and the ways that you take that's going to increase who you are. So if I'm going in that authentic self and I'm being an authentic self, why in the world would I want to fake anything? Because you brought it up so good and eloquently saying it. Why would I want to be on a journey that's taking me somewhere I don't want to go and I'm not going to like the outcome? So this is like, it's kind of like family. It's like family vacation. Well, I didn't want to go down south, but that's another color. That's another show right there. Well, I didn't want to go down south for the family trip to see the cousins that lived on a farm, and I know I would have to see chickens and eggs. Oh my, I digress, right? But when you have those things that you don't want to go, and you don't want to go on that kind of journey, why would you then make yourself susceptible to actually taking that journey? And then where does the journey lead to? Even if you faked it to make it, I have to go back to it. And I know it may sound repetitive in saying it, but I have to go back. Where's the transition? Because I'm doing everything that I do to be authentic because I want to see a transformation. I want to see a transition. I want to see a change. I want to, those are the things that you be authentic about. You want to be the real you. You want to make change around you, and you want to kind of like ingratiate your values and your systems upon those that's in your space, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm faking it, how can you ever know how to be around me?
Well, and how do you even know how to be yourself? Because you're just look at it from like a professional actor's point of view, which I don't think any of us are. Maybe we dabble aside, but like a professional actor gets paid to pretend to be someone that they're not. Right? Yes. They build a skill of pretending to be somebody that they're not. They're actually really good at faking it. They're probably the only career where like faking it actually helps you make it when you're an actor, right? Yes, that's the point. Right. But when you are trying to figure out, and all of us are at different points of our personal branding journey at any given time, right? Like our personal branding journey continues throughout our entire life because we learn different things. We have different circumstances and situations that come at us. We experience new things in different ways with different people. And it's a constant evolution. And so in order to stay on top of, like in order to stay in that zone of authenticity, you have to do what feels right for you. And if you get really good at doing things that don't feel right for you, if you get really good at faking it, then you're not moving along your journey. I don't know if anybody here has seen the Loki series that they did, the little bonus Marvel thing. But it's all about like different
previews for it. Yeah. I actually like Loki. He's a troublemaker. I like him.
I like Loki too. He's my favorite. But the show is all about like branches of time, right? So like there's like a crux point and then there's two branches and like this could happen or this could happen. And like we are all at branch points like that all the time. I can be myself or I can fake it. I can fake it and pretend to be somebody else. I have many of those opportunities in any given day, and let alone on like big things that could change the metaverse or whatever. So many I don't know. It got crazy with the multidimensional universes.
I'm having a hard time in this universe. I can't go to a metaverse.
Right? Oh my gosh. Anyways, that's also for another episode. Yes. But we have these opportunities all the time. And if you constantly practice faking it like a professional actor, what do you think you get good at? You get good at faking it. But that's not getting you to where you want to go. The only place that's going to get you to where you want to go is to practice being authentic, which is to practice the opposite of faking it. And so when you look at that transition point, it's everything with personal branding is a journey, an evolution. It's not like I get to this place where I'm like, oh, I'm going to flick the switch and make all of the authentic decisions from here forward, right? It just doesn't happen that way because we all have so much practice. We all have lots of practice faking it, right? Like we all have practice telling people that we're fine when we're not fine because we think it's a societal norm and we don't want to bother people. We all have practice wearing an outfit we think is going to impress the hiring company instead of something that we're comfortable in, right? Like we all have practice doing those things. And in order to get back into the transition of authenticity, you have to start to practice different things. You have to practice telling people that you're not fine when you're not fine. You have to practice. We had Alice Stevenson on the Be a Human in Business show. If you guys haven't caught it, it's on YouTube, Be a Human in Business show. And she was talking about, she's a lawyer. She started her own law firm because she felt like the definition of corporate law didn't fit her. And she went to a client pitch wearing a t-shirt and jeans because that is what she was comfortable in. And she ended up getting the contract. And when they walked her out, they walked her through the entire corporate office. Every single person was wearing a t-shirt and jeans. And so they saw her as one of their people instead of like a stuffy-nosed lawyer. And like big enough company needed a lawyer, but didn't want a stuffy-nosed lawyer. They wanted a lawyer who would do a good job, but was like them, right? And so you have to have the gall, the bravery, the courage, whatever you want to call it, to show up as you are. And the more you do that, the more you practice. And the more you practice, that's when you have the opportunity of hitting that crux point of, okay, now the majority of the time, I'm being authentic. But I don't believe that anybody gets to the point of being 100% authentic all the time. I'm not 100% authentic all the time, even though it's like my main focus in life is to be authentic. Just because society has so many norms that they've created for us around faking it till you make it. But I just want to talk about this on a personal level for everybody, because I want you to think about a time. Everybody has one of these. I want you to think about a time where someone asked you if you were fine or how you were, and you said fine when you're not fine, right? Every single person on the face of the planet has done that, except maybe my 3-year-old, maybe the little tiny kids, maybe not. We can learn a lot from them, you guys. How did that make you feel? Did that make you feel like you made it? Like, yes, I faked it, totally made it. No, you feel terrible. You feel crappy. You don't feel any better. You still feel in your mood. And now you just lied, which lying doesn't feel good to anybody either. And so like, does it make you feel like you made it? It just doesn't make me feel like I made it. Also, I just want to high five Philip for like my sneaky Marvel Metaverse reference.
Yes, Philip said you snuck the
and I got my R2D2 cup too. I'll just get throwing all the nerds.
Yeah, I see. You're really on tune today. I posted something to that effect. It may be a couple of days ago. The weeks are going by so fast. Everything is a couple of days, even though it's a couple of weeks ago. But I had posted something to the effect about saying you are right. And I think I just had a kind of like a busy day with a lot of people, and everyone that I talked to said they are right. And I was just going through the course of my day, and I just know from the point of just how my day have been, it's not all right. I had a few things in that day was kind of like unsettling, and there was some. It was chaotic, and some things that I was trying to deal with and get done with. And I just went right after, I think, the last client that I talked to, and they told me it was all right. And I kind of like felt different than that. And I said, okay, well, we'll wrap up for tonight, and then I'll just touch bases with you tomorrow, and then we'll go back. And he was like, no, I'm fine. I was like, nah. I turned it on me. I said, nah, I'm kind of like, I'm at a point where I can't really give you 100%. So I'm going to kind of like, just wire it in and then we'll start afresh tomorrow. Sometimes, starting fresh is good. It works out for the both of us. So the case was, I really was having that, but I was prepared to give them my all. But what they were saying and what they were doing kind of changed my perspective of, okay, dude, I'm not fine. I wasn't fine. I wasn't fine in that moment. And I felt that they wasn't. So I hopped right on LinkedIn. Thank you, LinkedIn community. You guys are so amazing. I hopped right on there and I made a post about that. And I kind of like posted, is everything fine? Have you ever been just like someone asked you a question and they asked you, are you fine? And I just went into just talking a little bit about that and how we kind of, I don't want to say downplay, but how we kind of make this faking it till you make it, because that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what I had done for the most part of the day. And for the most part, that's what they do too. And I think I'd ask the question, well, how many times have you really asked somebody how they were doing? And they answered quickly and answer back there, oh, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. And then I'll say, well, how many times you ask people that same question? And how many times have people asked you that and you said the exact same thing, knowing full and well that you were not good? And that's what kind of processed that thought pattern in my mind. And from that point, I wrote a post on that. And I said, it is important for us, even in the midst of it. And we're talking about being authentic. It really isn't about faking it till you make it. And it's key to how we phrase this, because authenticity is what we're dealing with. And authenticity is not points and times. To me, it's a lifestyle. I don't know. And I know how Tracy does it and how she feels about it as well. Thanks, Philip, for the R2D2 mug. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, R2D2. Yes, it's a great example of showing up who you are, even if you're R2D2. He always showed up. He always showed up.
Well, let's just go big and make sure that everybody knows that this map behind me is a map of Middle Earth as well.
That's Meta Earth behind her. Thanks, Philip, for bringing that up. Philip said we both is great. But when you think about how we put this into context and how we're saying it isn't, and notice my emphasis on isn't, because authenticity isn't about faking it till you make it. And though there are points and times where you have really probably, I say, we conditioned ourselves at points and times to just subconsciously fake it. Whether it's how we're feeling, it's what we're feeling, it's what we're going through, it's where we're at, it's where our mental is at. And a lot of times we get conducive and we've got comfortable with, okay, I'm gonna kind of like pad this little space in between here until I get to the next level. And is that fine to the capacity of has they got you over? That would be a good question to be. Is that a good place to be? I think we have been in those places, all of us, and I'm sure Tracy has as well. We've been in these places where it's at, but it's not the practice of being in these places is where we want to be. That's not a destination that we want to end up at. So we want to do the actual work. So authenticity shows its face, and then we are not faking it till we're making it on level of business, life in general. We don't even want to be faking life till we make it, right? So that's some good stuff there.
Yeah, and I think it's just I know sometimes people have they're different definitions. We talk about definitions a lot of authenticity, right? And this is what we're talking about today is one aspect of authenticity, but it really is kind of the main crux of authenticity. Authenticity isn't about you telling everybody everything about your life every time, every minute of every day, right?
Like vulnerability is too, so they think that's the same way.
And so it's not being that. It's just being, and I want you guys, and I don't know if everybody has this example, and if the next time someone asks you how you are and you're not fine, I want to encourage you to practice telling them you're not fine.
I'm not fine.
One of two things is going to happen. One, you don't care about the person who asked you, right? Maybe it's a random somebody who's messaged you on LinkedIn. You don't have to try it in that scenario. But like, if your mom asks you, or your husband asks you, or your kid asks you, right? Like, my son legitimately asked, like, why are you so grumpy today? I'm like, you know what? I am grumpy today, and these are the reasons why. And like, I have a 3-year-old who asks why all the time, and I'm learning how to deal with that. It's a process for me, right? But he had like called me on it, and I didn't pretend I wasn't grumpy. I would have been legitimately lying if I said I'm not grumpy. It's like,
and 9 times out of 10, he would have picked that up.
He knows, right? Like, and other people know too, right? Like, I'm fine. No, that's you're not. Like, you know that, right? So I encourage you. I had so my business partner, Tara Argo, for those of you who don't know her, we had a meeting this morning, and she asked me how I was doing, and I wasn't doing fine. And so we talked about it, and we talked about it for like 5-10 minutes, and then guess what? It felt fine. Well, I felt better.
I was going to say, anyway. you couldn't have heard that from Tara anyway. I know I've talked to her. So. Yeah, she spotted that as soon as she saw it.
But this is the thing, right? Like, by actually admitting that I wasn't fine, I created the space for me to process what was making me feel not fine and move into a space of feeling fine. Legitimately was feeling good by the time we got off of the phone. And if I had pretended that I was fine, I wouldn't have had that space to be able to do that. And so it's really important to look at those types of things and what does that make it? What are we saying we want to make, right? Like, I want to make authentic spaces. Well, I can't do that if I lie about how I'm feeling, right? Like, that's not how I accomplish it. And so, to get good at it, you have to practice, right? So, like, the next time someone who you trust asks you that question and you're not fine, I encourage you to tell them you're not fine. And see what
this answers Lisa's question.
Yeah. What should I do when I ask a professor colleague how they are and I can tell their answer is fake? Right?
Straight to the punch there, Lisa. Straight to the punch.
Yeah. And this is an opportunity for leaders. And I wanted to, we're going to tie this more into the leadership part of this too, because there's something to be said when, as a leader, you get asked if you're fine and you say you're not fine. What's the environment you're creating then, right? So if someone tells you that they're fine, you have no control over that. It's important to remember that as a leader, you can contribute to an environment that makes them feel safe to tell the truth. Yes. One of the ways you can do that is by telling people you're not fine.
By telling the truth, fine. Right?
And because there's a lot of corporate narrative, there's a lot of societal narrative that is playing in the minds of our employees, and we are still only one person. We are only one space. And so they might not be used to doing that, right? Their habits are dictating that they say they're fine when they're not fine. And it can even be as like, but how are you really? Or give them more opportunities to share. And each employee is different, right? So this is a leadership journey that you go on. Authentic leadership, just like you're being authentic in your personal life, in your business life as a leader, is a journey. And there are steps that you can take, and there's missteps that you will take that you're like, well, I tried that and it didn't work, which is fine. But people need to feel, if they don't feel safe enough to tell the truth, then they won't. And I don't know if I've used it as an example on this show before or in one of my other LinkedIn lives, but I talk about it often. One of the things, so when I was in corporate, I worked on a management team, and the CEO had this brilliant idea that we were going to do a clearing round before every management meeting. And what the clearing round was meant to do was 5 minutes to let every participating member voice any things that they had going on that wasn't going to allow them to fully participate in the meeting today. So we did it one time, and the VP of sales at the time, which wasn't me, but the VP of sales just got like reamed out by the CEO, saying like that was inappropriate and like that's not what she meant. And he was dealing with some stuff. His like wife had just experienced a cancer diagnosis, and they were trying to figure out like what the next steps were going to be. Like, legitimately, this guy was not capable of having this meeting today. And he shared that, and then he got shut down. And I was just like, so then guess what? Did you think that any of the rest of us shared what was going on with us in any of those clearing rounds ever? No, of course we didn't, because it wasn't safe to do so. Right? Yeah. So if you're gonna open it up to give people an environment to say, it's got to be safe. They can't be punished for then saying what they have said. You've got to know what your next step is going to be. So if I have somebody who I ask them how they are and they tell me fine, and I can tell that that's not true, and the next thing I'm going to try is, you know, I'm all about you feeling like you have the mental, emotional, physical capacity to being able to do your job right now. And I'm here to make sure that you have all of those things. So if you need to talk about anything, or there's anything that you need, please make sure to let me know. You got to be ready for that employee to be like, I just dealt with my father just passed away from COVID, and like, dude, you should go home. You should go home and you should deal with your, like, no, go home, please go home. And it's about being able to then give ourselves, like, would we be able to give ourselves that space, right? I'm dealing with that. I had somebody I have my personal branding bonanza that is in the middle of prep, and I had one of the experts today email me saying she just suffered a death in the family and she can't commit to being an expert in the event anymore. And like, dude, please don't worry about that. Please, like, go and be with your family. And if you need anything, like, I'm here for you, right? Because I'm about taking care of the people, and taking care of people on any given day can look different. And so, Lisa, I don't know if you have any other limitations in terms of the corporate culture that you're working within, or those types of things.
Because she makes a good point. She says she wants to be authentic and make others feel that they can be authentic with me. And I think that starts with a lot of what you were saying. You have to create that atmosphere with you, and then others. And actually, I always say that that's a twofold, because that'll automatically invite and give those a space that feel the way you do, and that'll repel those who don't. So I always think being authentic is a real, because I don't have to put a fake. I don't have to be fake with you, and I don't have to put up a facade with you. And I know a lot of times we're very careful in crafting that message, because we're in corporate and we're in these models of which this is how it's been, or this is tradition of how it's been seen. But being authentic is just a curation of yourself. So if you're carrying yourself in that, you will kind of like do the separation yourself, because you'll draw those who see you for being an authentic, real person. And like I said, you'll repel those who probably give you the snide names, the little smart remark, who she thinks she is, or she thinks she's better than, and that's what's a big thing about it. She says high level finance stuff, right? Yes, Lisa.
Well, and I think, like, this is important, especially in a corporate environment like Lisa is describing, right? Because being authentic isn't part of that. It isn't part of the narrative, right? So especially if you have employees that have been working in the industry for 20, 30 years, even if you show up and create this space for them, they are not used to participating in that space.
No, and they would not just jump on board either.
And so this is why, and we talked about practice earlier on in the episode, right? Like, this isn't, it's just not a one and done, right? Like, I'm not just gonna like offer you one time to like share more or go deeper, right? It's something that they have to get used to. It's something they have to practice. So as a leader, it's also important to remember that everybody surrounding you isn't necessarily going to feel comfortable with this yet. They are version 1.0 of you, and you're now version 3.0 or 4.0, right? So it's about creating that space, and it's about leaving a bit of a buffer between yourself and how effective you're being as a leader, that these people have to get the practice. So my job as the leader is to give them a place to practice, right? My job is to create the basketball court of authenticity in my company so people can come and practice. But when you're 5, I don't know, when did you start playing basketball, Carl, Shawn? I think I was like 10.
Yeah, I was about, I think the first one I got maybe about 3 or 4. Because that was sort of like what we was going to do to get out the hood, right?
Right. So when you're 4, and you start shooting free throws, you can't even get the ball to the hoop.
This is true.
Right?
This is true. I shot free throws like Shaq.
Right. Yeah, I'm 4-year-old Shaq. I can just slam, and you like can't even get close. It's like when Nicholas shoots. He's 3.5. He shoots a basket. He's not anywhere close. We do the alley-oop thing, and he shoots, and then I catch it, and I put it in. It's teamwork. But this is the point I'm trying to make, is it's teamwork, right? Yes. So you get to the point where and you know what's going to happen? Same thing as these little kids who shoot and come nowhere near the rim. They're going to think they can't do it, right? They're going to try it. They're going to fail. And then they think they're not going to be able, they can't do it. And you as a leader have an opportunity to help them keep trying. You are there to help them build new habits in the authenticity arena. And building habits in the authenticity arena, not a light switch, right? It just doesn't come on. And even if you have a lot of authenticity training, then you're still coming into an environment that doesn't, right? So it's really important to be able to separate you from the environment at that point and say like, okay, this is what I'm creating, but I have to build it. But if I came into or I just went out to a field, I can't practice basketball on a field, right? Like I have to build the court. First, I have to build the court. So I create the space where people can practice. Now I encourage them to practice. They've never seen a basketball court before. And now they're like, what is this? And they're like, yeah, come play. Look at this. This is how we play. This is the rules, blah, blah, blah. And then they start to play, but they're not very good at it, right? Like they're all those, I always imagine the like 3-year-olds playing soccer where they just like all chase the ball around and no one really does anything. Right? Like they don't know what they're doing. They have to practice. And so all of these things have to come into play when you're thinking about, all of these people have so much practice faking it till they make it. And I will tell you, I have a lot of friends who work in finance, and there's a lot of faking it that happens there, fancy suits.
Absolutely.
And those types of things, right? Like it's not, they can't just switch. And as much as it would be nice as the leader of them for them to just be able to switch, it's not a thing. It's a gift that you continually give to them, a space that you can continually create. And it's about progress, not perfection, to quote all of my Peloton trainers.
It's a complex thing if you've been doing that, and you make such great points with how the environment and how corporate environment and actually just the vision of what we see leadership, and just in title alone, what leadership tends to create when they're there. Like when you're thinking about faking it till you make it, authenticity isn't that, because we faking it, make it, it sound, when you hear it and you hear the terms, and I know we've heard it countless times in probably different arenas and different stages in our lives, careers, even with a lot of things that we've truly understood and what we were doing or what we've been trying to obtain futurely. But the weight of that is so tremendously stressful because it's not really being you. It's not the authenticity that you need. It doesn't curate anything that you're learning from, because it's all pretend. So it sort of sounds reasonable until you dig into the details of it and you kind of consider really what does this strategy give you. So when I think of it as a strategy, I'm thinking, okay, if I'm faking it, so I'm making it. Okay, this is a strategy, right? So I have to employ this. So what does this strategy give me first and foremost? And then what can I take away from presenting this strategy or even living this strategy? Okay, I can look at it in a couple of ways. I can look at it as, well, it gives me the opportunity, because a lot of times if you pretend that you know something, or that that you can talk your way through, or you can you can kind of let people know, or you act kind of like confident in what you're saying. And we find this so much, as so many people that we find across from these different ones that's having workshops and these kind of things. Oh man, they talk it with confidence. They talk it with their hands. They're explaining everything. They're articulate. So they must really know what they're saying, right? If you do that, yeah, that can impress some people. And some people that you get in front of, that impression could work for you. It is a strategy that can work for you. But if you're looking at the long term of it, this strategy, it'll take away some of the necessary things you need for your long-term success. So if you're faking it till you make it, again, I go back to that. When does that transition take place? Because you won't actually have the skills because you were faking it the whole time. So the things that you were pretending to know, you never actually really know. So now if they were put to the test, all those things put before you, it's going to make you difficult. It's going to make it real difficult for you to do the job, right? So at that point in time, then people are going to realize that you're phony. So it's going to be a house of cards at that point. You're going to lose your trust, you're going to lose your credibility to some extent. I mean, some people may be like, oh, I kind of figure, some people may be understanding, but then some people are going to shoot you down. I knew you wasn't that kind of person anyway, so you should have just went along with it. So it's a shortcut, and that's what I would call it. And just like anything that you take a shortcut on, pretty much is not going to help you in the long run, because nature don't like shortcuts. Someone told me that a long time in school when I was talking about Cliff Notes, and they told me read the book.
I don't know, man. Sometimes the Cliff Notes have everything you need to know.
They do. But I think the practice of what they wanted me to get, and I'm sure you understand the gist of that too. They just wanted me to get, to do that part. Not that the Cliff Notes probably won't provide you some of the answers that you need, but the Cliff Notes are just what they are. They're inconclusive. They're tidbits. They're not the knowledge that you really need. It's just to give you an answer for the questions.
Well, and one of the things that it reminds me of is so I historically am a Toastmaster, and which is a public speaking organization, and there were so many people that I experienced in Toastmasters that would write these really intricate speeches, and then they would have to read them off a piece of paper because they don't actually know the topic. They're not familiar with it. And so when you saw somebody who you just, like, you can tell, right? Like, they are all about their topic and they get totally into it and you get that energy. It's different than watching a really, like, the word is escaping me, like rehearsed speech. Right? Like, I'm rehearsed, and then at this part of the speech, I'm going to walk over here, and then at this part of the speech, I'm going to walk over here. And like, but it doesn't have that same, that like you-ness, the you factor that actually makes things interesting. And so there's like so many people that I experienced in that world, and you'll be like, wow, they have the skills of being a talented public speaker, but I don't like feel anything, right? You're just like, you're talking about something you don't care about. And it's something that I never understood, I guess, because I've always just, like, I always wrote a speech about something I knew, something I had experienced, something that, I even did a speech where it's about making balloon animals because I know how to do that, right? Like, it's just about me. It's not about me picking a topic that I think people are going to like and then writing a speech about it and then presenting it. It's about me being me and presenting me in a way that makes sense for me. And so there was like, yeah, okay, maybe you won a speech contest, right? Good job. Is that what made it is for you? Because I was in it in university and I was like, wow, I won a speech contest. I think I have the ribbons somewhere. Like, I don't even know. Doesn't matter, right? Like, it didn't, the skills of speaking and those things, they're helpful, right? I'm not going to say that public speaking skills are bad by any means, but you can gain public speaking skills faking it, or you can gain public speaking skills by being authentic. That's where it comes back to the action is not in essence tied to authenticity or inauthenticity. An action is just an action. How are you doing that action? Are you doing it to fake it? If you are doing it to fake it, what is your make it? What is that success criteria you're actually measuring yourself against? And then look at it. Is that success criteria your success criteria?
Well, is it actually success? Because I don't think that it leads to that. I don't. And if I do, success to me can't be judged or categorized as temporary, because success is sustained, right? So if you're in your field, you're in your dynamic, you're in your zone of genius, as so many people say on the LinkedIn platform, right? You want sustainability in that, right? Who wants to be a genius for a hot minute? And then, at that point in time, after that, then you have no sustainability in your success. You can't get across anytime anymore of what you are. But I think that when you're being authentic, you're riding along that success train, because if you're staying true to that, everything that comes with that will stay with you. So it's not about faking it, because at some point in time, if you can just flip it. I mean, a lot of people hate to be called that, but if you're faking it, you're lying, right? Because the fake is not real, and the lie is not the truth. So if
and I think herein lies the crux.
Is
right?
it a crux,
people think
really?
they have to. So there's somebody's definition of success, which is probably not your own, which is now how you're measuring you made it, right? And you're lying. You're faking it. You're lying to do that. So why? You have to ask yourself why. And if it's because of anything that is outside of you, it's not a good reason. I'm faking it because my boss said I have to. I'm faking it because that's what I need to do to reach the next level of my career.
Yes.
Well, is that true? It might be. It might be based on the corporate culture that you're working in, but then do you really want to be working in that corporate culture? It's just why. We have to ask ourselves, you guys, we all know we've done it, right? Like, I didn't hear anybody say, no, I've never said I'm fine when I'm not fine, right? Like, we've all done it. Every single one of us. So we have to ask ourselves why. Why are we doing it? To what? To make what? And is that decision to fake it actually taking us closer to what we're trying to make, or farther away from what we're trying to make? And in the conversation of authenticity, every single time, faking it is taking you farther away from you making it.
And it's taking you farther away from the growth that you seek. Because when you're looking at it in all actuality, you're faking it because you want to be something that's faking is being a substitute for. So you're not really working on the thing that can make you try to be what you're faking.
Right. If I'm going to fake that I'm really good at negotiations, but I'm not, I could take that energy and actually practice negotiations, right? And then get better at it. So future version of me is actually good. So today version of me maybe still isn't, but I'm taking action that future version of me will be proud of. Not faking that I am it, because it doesn't help any of us grow. That's where we get stuck. And like we get stuck in acting mode instead of doing mode, and we can let's just do the things in alignment with what we want to be.
Yeah, because that's a big way about how our priorities get, how things get prioritized, because we start putting our energies and our focus into things that really is not going to propel us to where we need to be. So the authentic part of that is that, okay, that I realize that I have shortcomings in this and that. Okay, and how do you improve shortcomings? You work on those shortcomings, right? But if I'm consistently in a mind state, or even a dynamic of I'm gonna just fake it, it just doesn't lose me. When people say that, I automatically go back to, when does the transition take place? Because I'm only doing something to see a transition, a transformation, to see me get better at, to see me gain knowledge in. So if I'm constantly on a fake platform with fakeness all around, where's there a transition of me seeing that, oh, the work I put in is paying off? I don't have that because I haven't put in any work. And we're working in conducive, and we're putting ourselves in these, well, not necessarily putting ourselves, but we're in these conducive places that are feeding this falsehood of this is what it takes for you to make it. In all
Mm-hmm.
actuality, when you put everybody up under those, I start thinking about the Law and Order shows, or the old TV shows when the detectives will bring the light down in your face and kind of like intimidate you in the rooms and try to make you get them the truth. Yeah. So at some point in time, you're gonna have to come up off it, and then the point in time is that you're gonna be exposed. And I think that exposure to what you've been playing as who you are for so long is going to be real damaging to who you really could be in the future. And you're going to have a lot of people that's probably have put their trust and faith in you. That's definitely in leadership. They put their trust and faith in you to lead them, to have their best interests at heart, and to be able to coach and develop them. And when they find out that all of this or all of you were faking it, how you think that's going to make them feel about them?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's going to be a domino effect at that point.
Yeah. I want to just make a thank you, Philip, for complimenting my negotiating
Yes,
skills.
you are I like all those A's, Philip.
Way better. Philip helped me with that, by the way, you guys, just in case you're wondering. But I want to just make a quick comment here because it's really interesting. I remember working in my corporate career, and my boss constantly told me I wasn't good at negotiating. Now, something that was really interesting. So she trained me on how she negotiates and sort of one sheet and like blah, blah, blah. And here's the thing that I could never negotiate like her. And the reason is because I felt when we had a fair deal, we were done negotiating, right? Like, I think this is fair, good value trade. It's within my budget. I think that's fair. And her goal was always to negotiate until like everybody wanted to kill each other. And like, I don't want to do it that way, right? And so for me, the skill of negotiating, me trying to negotiate like that didn't feel good. It didn't feel good to me. And so guess what? I didn't get good at it because I couldn't practice it that way. Yeah. But there is a way for me to negotiate that feels good, that feels right, that feels fair, that feels value driven. That's something that Philip helped me with. And that's the difference when you influence that authenticity into it, right? Like, again, it's not, if I'm trying to be my ex-boss at negotiating, I'm faking it because that's not being me. And then guess what? I don't make it because I don't get good at it, because I don't want to practice, because it feels yucky, and like all of those things. There is a way for me to do it, but unless I'm doing it my way, it will always feel bad and I never will make it, right? And you know what? Probably in her eyes, I've never made it as a negotiator. And guess what? Now I don't care because it doesn't matter. That's your style of negotiating. You can negotiate that way. And I am going to negotiate my way and feel good about it. And like, if I had negotiated for her and we were always over budget, then maybe she would have a reason to complain about it. But you gave me this budget. I negotiated everything within the budget to a fair deal for both parties. And I think that is good enough. And I will always think that's good enough. So I just wanted to share that with you guys too, because it calls back to, it's not even specifically about the skill. It's about how you use the skill, how you practice the skill, how you uniquely create that space. So Lisa was asking, how can I make my employees feel more comfortable? So you have a unique way, Lisa, of creating that space specifically for your team on those specific humans, right? There is no one way for all humans to be authentic. By nature, every single one of you guys, every single one of us, every single human on the planet has a different definition of what authenticity looks like for them. And so the biggest learning from today that we want you to take away is that faking it is not going to get you closer to understanding what your definition of authenticity is. And before we wrap up, I just want to share a phrase that my friend Tim Sweet shared with me. I give him full credits for this. But one of the things that he has flipped this phrase into is face it until you ace it. So if you like a nice little rhyming phrase, you can try that instead, because that is about showing up and doing the things, growing in your direction, right? But it's at the end, acing it, maybe, but there's also no perfect, right? But it's closer to the action that we're taking, is we're facing our fears, facing our challenges, facing the the daunting task of creating this authentic space for other people, and we're going to keep doing it. We're not going to give up, right? We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep creating that space. We're going to keep giving our employees opportunities to practice. We're going to keep giving ourselves opportunities to practice. We're going to keep at it. So if you guys need a rhyming little tagline for what you want to do,
face it until you make it, right?
Face it until you ace it instead of
face it until you ace it. Let me put that in there. Face it until you ace it,
but don't fake it.
Yeah, that makes good sense. And also that's plausible and that's feasible. And when you look at it, you're touching bases on the things that will spur growth, will continue for you to grow on the right path. And Jesse says that doing and growing, that's the real path to success. And that's exactly what we're talking about.
Doing you.
Yes.
Not just doing things. Doing
yes. Doing you. And that's definitely it. We appreciate you guys coming out again for another fantastic episode of Authentic Leadership 101.
Quick. I got people telling me that it's dinner time, but want to just on that note of doing you, mission to do you, the personal branding bonanza tickets are now on sale. So if you guys are interested in attending that, Shawn is going to be there talking about, you guessed it, vulnerability. Come and check it out. Share it with your network. It is a bonanza. 3 weeks, a whole bunch of events, not 3 weeks straight, because let's be honest, nobody can do that. A whole bunch of events, networking events, panel events, workshops that are going to give you guys access to different ways to practice these skills. And that is what we're here to do.
In a safe space.
Yes, you guys. I hope you know that, because Tracy and Shawn are there. It's going to be a safe place. But yeah, check out my profile if you don't follow me already for more information on that.
Yes, we definitely want to do that. I'm going to have the link for that as I'm searching for, but I'm going to put it in there for everyone that have joined us on this evening. We definitely appreciate you guys coming by. We appreciate your question as of always. Zadina, glad you jumped in there. Jesse, appreciate you. Fella, Angora, just to name a few. Lisa, enjoyed your questions, Lisa. You was really interactive with that, and we appreciate, because we're here to talk about the things that you guys are feeling, maybe can't talk about, but we want to get answers, and we want to make sure that those answers are applicable to you and they move your needle, because it's all about you. So that's what we do here. We appreciate you guys coming out. Philip, thank you. Russ, checking in. Margot, Andrea, to go all the way back. We appreciate you guys. Catch us here on next Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we have another edition with me and Tracy, as we have another edition of Authentic Leadership 101. And we'll soon be closed out the season, and school to be over shortly for this session. We'll soon be closing it out, but we'll be continuing to bring you guys greatness with this one-on-one. I'm loving what we're doing, what we're going through, the interaction we're getting, and make sure you guys come. I'm going to put the link in there so you guys can come and join the bonanza. I will be there. I'll be enjoying the festivities, so I've called them, the workshops, the get-together sessions, the panels, the whole thing. It's going to have a lot of things that's going to be interesting for you guys to join in on and come and get it where you fit in. All right. Thank you guys again. Thanks, everybody. Tracy, have a great night. Go eat dinner with the little guy. He's calling your name. And we will see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you for coming out, guys.